All right. So, hi, everybody. And thank you so much for being here with me and a bunch of amazing traders to analyze your trade. And actually, David is my favorite show because we get to talk about technicals, we get to talk about even fundamentals, and we talk about charts. So, I'm really looking forward to your questions. Let me know what stocks are you watching, or stocks or ETFs? What are you guys watching right now? Okay. Oops. All right. Okay, cool. All right. What are your main watches, guys? Tesla. Tesla. I was just watching it this morning, and it already has a daily trigger. Tesla. Tesla's a long at this point for today over $186.45. And it does have a massive support underneath. You guys could see this support right here. This support has been around since January. So this is a line in the sand. You could see that the price action was trading above, right? Because it came down, it held this area for a really long time. And then it had the slingshot lower and then immediately was bought. So take a look at this reaction because this is very interesting, right? So it held a secondary level of support into the 158.87. And then all of a sudden, guess what? Everybody stopped out. This is what this flurry was all about. Everybody stopped out. And basically all the weak hands or hands that are into like shorter term hold. So that means that with everybody out, you could see the big bars that came to the upside. So here we had very timid, very, very shallow selling. Look at the size of the bars right here. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then all of a sudden we had a crazy rotation that took the price higher. So this bar right here literally eliminated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 bars. Wow. So 5 trading days, eliminated 5 trading days. And here we are. And again, it sandwiched, broke out again into this range, broke out again. And since this big push that we had to the upside into the on April 29, 2024, right? So this year, back in April, we have remained sideways. But basically, this is part of a much longer base. And that is, it has been a very boring type of trade. We saw a lot of activity into tech, but yet we didn't see any activity into Tesla. I would say that today, this is the first time that I'm excited about it. And I may jump into it as well, into the trigger, because I like the fact that the price action is trading above the 10 exponential moving average, which means that it may start getting a little bit of traction. It is taking out Friday's high. So this is good because it's doing a daily buy setup. It's doing this rotation off of the 10 EMA and also the 20 SMA, I should mention, right? So we have the 2 trending moving averages that are holding the price into this point. We do have another resistance area into the 192 and another one from this pivot high into the 199 to 200. So I would say any rotation that that is forming here into the 186.45 could potentially be drawn. And you can see here it's 43 right now. So I think I'm gonna buy some. Okay, at 45. Yep. Okay. Order filled. So yeah, I got some right here. I was watching it all morning. And like I said, the first target is going to be into this prior pivot high into the 191.50. And then the next one into this prior pivot high into the 200. And again, yes, the final target would be into this 200 simple moving average into the 208 to 209 zone, because this is just a big fat line in the sand right here. So this is major, major, major resistance for current price action, but it may start moving up. So this is my thought on a swing trade. On an investing type of trade, I don't think it's ready yet. I wouldn't be ready to invest in it because it doesn't have what it needs for my technicals in order to start dabbing into it on a long term. And you could see the reason why on the monthly chart. We're seeing 2 of my major moving averages that I'm using. The blue one is the 20 SMA and the pink one is the 10 exponential moving average. Which could potentially lead to a big roadblock for a current price action. Plus, the reason why I'm not very excited about it For this week and next week, at least for investing purposes, but for swing purposes, I'm excited because I gave you a target of 200, right? So I think I'm going to play this more on the swing side. And if it takes out the $200 right here, which is, and by the way, guys, these are quarterly charts, right? We're going to end the quarter next week. At the end of next week, next Friday is going to be the last trading day, not only of the month, but in the quarter. So you really want to look for these buy points or resistance points or support zones or trigger points. And for me, $200 is a huge trigger point right here. In fact, it's just below 200. It's 198.87. This could potentially be the big boost that can potentially drive the price big time to the upside, well above that 200 price target that we had. This will bring that power to break above the daily 200 SMA right here, right? And which is between the two, let's say the 210 area. So if you look at this price point, this 10 EMA would, let's say, would coincide with that, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. At this point in time, if we get a rotation that is happening here, so we would have the price action taking out the high of the quarterly high of this quarter high, this is going to be a big deal. Why? Because this, we have the low right here. And at that point in time, when we get the price above this candle in the month of July, if that's going to happen in the month of July, we would have the second higher low. So that is when the volume is going to start picking up. So I think this is mostly like, this is a leg in opportunity type of trade. However, the real trade may be setting up over this high in a couple of weeks. So this is my thought on Tesla. So Daniel, this was for you. Bill, you're looking at KNSL. All right, so let's go back down right here. Oh, this is another interesting range. Okay, so this is another interesting range. Let me readjust the chart. We can see here that we have a lot of resistance into the 400 level. This is again a chart that has an overhead of a flat 200 simple moving average, which is a big deal. We also have a declining 50 SMA, which is a big deal in the sense that institutions love to see the price above it in order to start releasing their algos and to start their buying process into it. So this may be a problem until it reaches the 400. Because the range has been going on for such a long time and because we have such strong overhead resistance, I see it more to the downside than anything else. We have two levels of support. One is coming from a little prior pivot low from May 29th, which is around the $373 area. And we have another one, which is actually from the gap down. It's actually the support created from the gap down into the 353. So it has two major levels of support, 373, and it has this prior pivot low right here. So if this ultimate pivot is going to be erased, look out below because it has a lot of tradable void to move to the downside. I want to take a quick look on the weekly chart because this one gives us a lot more perspective, right? So obviously this is a stock in an uptrend, right? This is a very uptrending stock. Just give me 1 second because I want to check out the volume that we have into this stock. Ooh, 15,000 shares traded. Ooh, this is really bad. Okay, this is really bad, Bill. This is not something that I would ever trade. I don't trade anything that is below 1.2 million shares. This could very easily be manipulated. However, if you still say, hey, you know what, I'm going to be trading this, don't touch it as a day trade. So as a day trade, this is a big no-no. Let me show you what these lower stocks are all about. Look at these gaps that we're having. This is a 5-minute chart. You see these gaps that are happening within prices. So there's nobody here. So somebody wants to sell, for example, at 382. There's nobody here to buy unless it drops to 381. So you're going to have big problems for if you decide to day trade this. From the weekly perspective, I'm just going to give you my perspective on the technical pattern. That was my personal thought on the volume of the stock. You can see here that we have support, and right now we're in a limbo because we don't know if this is going to be another pivot high or we're going to retest the $325 zone from the prior pivot low from December 2023. So this is a big line in the sand right here. It could be bullish above, and I'm going to show you a chart that is going to show you exactly bullish above and bearish below. This is going to be clearly the bullish above area. If I was trading this stock, I wouldn't touch it unless it breaks out the $402 and above 38 cents. That would be a buy order for me. In this respect, I wouldn't buy it because of the volume, but just giving you a heads up, this is the type of pattern that I will look at. So I would buy it over $402, and I would place my stop just into this 20 SMA at $354. It has a whopping target level of over $500 here, $500 to $528, even to this pivot high of very close to $550. Quarterly chart, really big red bar. So what this tells me is that as we're heading into the quadruple witching option expiration, which is on Friday, and because we're heading into the end of the quarter next week, what happens into the end of the quarter? These stocks that have this massive red into the end of the quarter are just going to continue to either stay towards the bottom or even sell out more. Because if there was a fund that has been holding shares in KNSL, they don't want to show them, they don't want to show their stats to their clients because they're down on this stock, right? So what they're going to be doing is eliminating it before the end of the quarter, and they're going to jump into a stock like Nvidia or a stock like Apple or a stock like Microsoft, dressing up their portfolio, because this is what happens at the end of the quarter. You have the window dressing effect. It's perfectly legal, and you have no idea that you have been stuck in KNSL, for the whole quarter, and you have losses because they just sold them for you, and then they got you in Apple, and you're going to go like, wow, look, I have such a great money manager. He got me into Nvidia. All right, but things are, so when you see red here, and you're getting very close to a quarterly end, that means that there's going to be even more distribution, or best case scenario, you're going to be holding the range. And this is my thought on it. It has a lot of overhead resistance from this prior pivot high, and this is again the daily chart, and from this 200 SMA plus you have this death crossover right here. This is the death cross. That means like the price action is ready to continue lower. It's nice that it has been holding, but you can see here also the volume is going down, right? So what this means is that there's not much participation into it. So there's not much interest into it at this point in time. I would definitely revisit it into the end of, not the end of, I would reanalyze it at the end of the quarter. So that means next week on Friday, and see what's going on. All right. So I really hope that helped. The next one is USO. I am in USO. I have been in USO for quite some time, actually since last summer. Yeah, that's true. I've been in it since last summer. And USO should be heading higher. You guys can see here that we analyzed this in my trading program. But it does have a new support zone, and that support zone is the $70. It also has a new rising support zone from these prior lows right here, and it's also trading above this 200 simple moving average, which is spectacular because it means that it gets more interest from institutions as well. Institutions love when the price is trading above the 200 SMA, regardless of whether it's the daily, the weekly, or the monthly time frame. And one other aspect that it has for it is trying to create a new higher low, because last week we had a little bit of red taking the price back down, but you can see here that the price is still trading above what? The 20 simple moving average, which is the blue line, and 10 exponential moving average, which is the pink line. So that means that it has a pretty good shelf around the $75 zone. This is again a breakout. Notice that the price action here is tagging the 50 simple moving average. This is also something that you want to pay attention with, because the price action may have velocity only if it trades above it. As long as the price action is trading below the 50 SMA, that could be a little bit of a roadblock right there. And the price action has potential to get rejected. Today's close is going to be very interesting, because if we close today just a little bit above this oops, sorry about that, just a little bit above this 50 SMA. That may mean a continuation higher going into tomorrow into the $78 zone. I'm actually long in oil futures. So yes, I am in big favor of USO long that can potentially blast over $78 and can continue into the $80 zone. So USO, really love it. Like I said, I have been in oil for quite some time in oil futures, and I'm also in USO being the United States Oil Fund. And I have been in this one so I'm holding USO for long term. So I have been really, really invested in long term. So all right. So the next one is shop. Okay. Let's take a look at shop and see what we have going on today. All right, so this is the daily chart. So we're going to go transition from time frame to time frame. So actually on this one, I'm going to start with the monthly chart. So the monthly, this month performance, because, and I always start with the monthly chart, regardless whether we're approaching the quarter end or the month end, and because this gives me a much better idea of how the major support levels are holding on a much higher time frame, on a macro time frame. I like the fact that even though we have not rotated, I like the fact that this 20 simple moving average is literally holding the price so well at this point. And as you can see here, the price action tag, the 10 EMA, is trading between the 20 and the 10. And it's kind of sandwiched in there. So this month, it has been ranging between the low of this bar, so the price $58.38, and the high, which is $68.20. So it has been ranging within about $10 price range. Obviously, going into next month, so going into July, as we're heading into July 4th, this could potentially have a big buy point over $68.25, which would be, or the highest point. Maybe today is going to continue higher. Maybe today is going to go to 65, or maybe next week is going to go to 68. So as you're heading into July, I think a July buy point over June's high is going to be major. So this has the potential to run into $82, right into this 50 SMA and into this prior high. These are going to be the next two targets for $90. That's on a monthly perspective. On a weekly perspective, I've been mentioning that yes, we're trading between these quite impressive ranges, about $10 range. So yeah, it's a little wobbly. In this case, in shop on the weekly, you can see here, what do we have? Overhead resistance from the 200 simple moving average. So this is not quite good, right? And we didn't really have a spectacular quarter into it as well, because if you take a look at the quarterly chart, it's red. So there's a chance that the price action throughout these 2 weeks to remain range bound, because it's not going to get picked up. Remember, portfolio managers are not going to show their clients a stock like shop in the portfolio saying, hey, you know what, it didn't do anything. In the meantime, you have record highs in Nvidia, you have record highs in Broadcom, so that's going to make them look stupid. So they're going to probably hold or ditch this stock into the towards the end of next week. And they're going to be looking for a buy opportunity, and the buy opportunity is going to come, like I said, in July. So they're going to ditch it, but they're not going to ditch it completely. They're going to rebuy it, but they're going to rebuy it on a different setup, and they're going to rebuy it based on this monthly chart, because this is a very strong trigger that allows a lot of algos to participate alongside their decision. So from the daily perspective, again, you can see here that we have a big line in the sand. You guys can see this support right here that actually translates into resistance right now. So what can happen, and this is kind of like a flip zone, you know what I mean? So this is resistance, but if the price decides to break above, then this becomes support. But now this support is resistance, and that's why you were seeing this rejection on the price action today. Plus, we're heading into the quadruple witch option expiration. Plus, you're getting you want to kill some premiums here, right? Because that's the first thing on the menu for this Friday. And then next week we have the window dressing, which, like I said, that's the reason of the whole rejection here. You don't even have to look far reading news, because this is exactly what's happening. Plus you have this 200 simple moving average right here that is separating the bulls from the bears. So this is bearish action below, this is bullish action above. What you need to see is the price break above the $69. And if it breaks the $69, it will have velocity to go a little bit higher. The first target would be into this pivot low right here. So that would be $72.50 to $73, then $74. Then as we're going higher, very close to the $77 to $78 into this prior peak. Now, at this point in time, today, as of today, I'm going to tell you what I see happening today. Depending on where we close today, all right, this could potentially be, so if we close super weak today, right, tomorrow we may have a continuation lower if we break today's low. And if tomorrow we go like, yeah, we're holding today's low and we're ramping up a little bit, any kind of sign that we're going to trade above $68 may potentially be an attempt to break the $69 where the 200 SMA is at. And if we break that, we're going to go higher. If you want to do that type of trade, and I often do these type of trades, aggressive trades, if I see the price rotating, but it's really under resistance, I take it with half the size. And if I take it with half the size, you know, I have the liberty to, like on a next pullback, to add more size as we're heading higher. But be very cautious with shop. And let me just take a quick look at the volume as well. Of shop trading 5.3 million. Perfect. For volume wise, it is perfect. All right. The next stock is TER. All right, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at volume. So I'm going to teach you this. If this is your only takeaway from today, this is something that my mentor, Goldman Sachs trader, taught me. So if you want to trade like the big boys, you got to listen to his advice. It's not my advice. I'm just sharing the advice. I'm just sharing what I have learned. So he said that you want to trade something that has volume, that has a lot of liquidity. You don't want to trade something and get stuck into it. So for example, even though you have like a perfect pattern and everybody's talking about it on CNBC or Bloomberg or on social media, the first thing that when you pull the chart up is to take a look and see what is the volume, daily volume, how many shares are being traded today on TER, and that is 471. It's not bad, but it's not perfect either. If you're doing options, that's fine. I don't trade options. Rarely that I trade options. Rarely that I trade options. But bottom line is that you know, you want to have that liquidity in your trading. And this, I hope you appreciate this this little intervention here about volume, because it's, you know, it has changed my life. For example, when I'm day trading or swing trading, when I'm day trading, oh my gosh, I just look for the highest volume stocks. And in fact, I could show you a little bit how I scan. But you want to make sure that you have heavy duty volume, because that is when you're having the velocity. What is velocity? Is when the price action accelerates, and you want it to accelerate 3% or even more, even in one day. You know what I mean? All right, so let's talk about TER, back to subject. So bottom line is that you have a big support level right here into the 135.90 created by this doji. And on May 31st, and since then, the price action has been sideways. And yes, it did a little bit of slingshot to the downside, and here it did a little bit of slingshot to the upside, but it's still trading in the range. As long as the price action is not violating the 135.80, the price action still remains intact with a strong possibility of breaking out because of the uptrend. From the weekly perspective, you can see here that we have a massive consolidation. What this is actually price compression. So the price action is concentrating, right? It's just like when you're reducing a sauce on the stove, right? So you're putting, I don't know, some cherry juice in there, you know, and then the more you kind of like let it simmer, the thicker it gets. This is exactly, the more concentrated it gets, and the more action, the action is going to be the froth, right? So it's going to start frothing, and the froth is just going to make it explode higher. The same thing happens here. So you have TR, it just exploded from this big, massive range that you had going on here since 2021. And right now it's thinking about it. Bottom line is that if it starts trading below these lows right here, it's going to start pulling back. But if it takes out these highs, it's going to start moving higher. from the monthly perspective, you can see here that it's pretty much we're 2+ weeks into the month. We still have 2 weeks left for the month of June. And what do we have here is a big doji. So that signals big indecision. So buyers and sellers are in a limbo. It's a tug of war at this point between the buyers and the sellers at this point in time of June 17th, 2024. We don't know who's going to win. And I could tell you right now that if next month we're going to trade above the 152, then the bulls are going to win. If the price action is going to get below the low of this doji, 138.57, then the bears are going to win. Bears win. They're going to drag the price lower, most likely into the 119. Okay, into the 119. So this is my thought on TER. I'm just going to take a quick look at the quarterly. Quarterly is really good. So this is not the type of stock. See, before we had two stocks that were red, right? This is not going to get ditched into next week. This is not going to get sold into next week because it has a strong quarterly presence. And more than likely, funds that are invested into TER and trades that are invested into TER, they're just going to stay in it. So this one and that compression that we have on the daily chart, that's pretty spectacular. That's pretty good. All right. The next one is NVTS. Woo! This is a nice one. Okay. This is a nice one. Why? Because I'm going to share this one with a quarter, right? This is trading on support. Okay. So this is trading on support. Take a look at the quarter and take a look at the bar. It's red. Do you think the price is going to pick up this week or next week? No, it's not. I can tell you that with so much confidence. First of all, the reasons for that is because, let me just shrink the chart a little bit more. All right, the reason for that is because it's trading below the trending moving averages. So it may have the power to push lower, right? So it could potentially go lower. It's somehow saved right now. So I really like the price point into it. And I know I have been looking at the stock a little bit, but it's not ready yet. It's not ripe. It's not ready to go. If it takes out the $3, it's going to go down, and it's going to go down super fast. And the bottom line is that on the monthly, it needs to take out this 10 EMA and the 20 SMA. So basically $5 and $6. You guys know that institutions are not big fans, and funds are not big fans of picking up stocks that are below $5, right? So it's not rock and roll time for it. Every single time the stock moves a little bit higher, so it pulls back from the downtrend, it gets knocked back down. All right, so right now it has support within the last few weeks. In fact, you could see here since April, it has support at $3.50, and this is a stock that is not going to do anything for a really long time. Okay, this is not going to do anything in a really long time. So from the daily perspective, it has the 3-bar down. The reason why I said that I could potentially like this because I've watched this stock. It just popped on one of my scanners last week. Then we have the 1, 2, 3 down. So we can potentially have a turnaround Tuesday into it. Well, we'll see. We'll see if that's going to be the case. But if it takes out the $4.50, then yes, it may go higher. But at this price point, it's not going to do anything. I like the fact that it's on the 20 SMA. So it really needs to get above this high tomorrow, not today, tomorrow, $4.50. And like I said, you have very conflicting data here because you could potentially have a buy set up over $4.50. Let's see what it's going to do today. But if tomorrow we break below today's candle, right, below, excuse me, below today's low $4, we can start accelerating towards that $3.50 because we have just lost the 2 safety nets that we had, the 10 EMA and the 20 SMA. And plus the weekly, if you guys look very carefully, we have already triggered and the price is already below the 10 EMA. So NVTS from my perspective, is just sit on your hands. It's kind of like a no trade right now. All right. Speaking of now, all right, let's analyze NOW trades. Excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. All right, so we're going to begin this one with a quarterly chart. Quarterly chart is into a massive indecision zone. And this past quarter, the stock has been trading between $639 and a high of $795. So the quarterly is in a limbo because it's in a doji. So it definitely doesn't have any signs of buying or selling immediately as we close the quarter. So this is going to be, in a limbo for some time. The monthly chart is very interesting because it's rotating off of the minor support. Minor support is deriving from this prior pivot high right here. So we have resistance that is transformed into support. Wherever the price is going to take this stock this month, it's going to be a strong buy as we're heading into July because it has a very strong month. Last week, we had a big trigger into it, but you can see that the trigger borderline with this 10 EMA. So this week, you need to see the price above last week's high, which is $730.50 in order to start moving higher towards this 20 SMA. I mean, it still has some obstacles here. You could very easily see that the price action was declined a little bit here, right? So I'm just going to put it like this. Okay, it was declined a little bit. So we had a little bit of a downtrend formation, but this is just possible forming like a bull flag explosion, right? But it just needs to take out the 762. So it still has some hurdles along the way. It has, by the way, the reason why it's stalling here is because it has these two tails right here. And remember, this is a weekly chart. So those are weekly lows. So those are this week's low, right? February 19th. And this week, March 4th, right? So it didn't have like a lot of advancement this year. Like take a look at the yearly, still in a limbo. Back to the weekly here. All right. So this is going to be a very big zone right here to $700.50. If it takes this out, you could take it. You could have a little bit of room to run into the 748. And then again, big question mark, and ask yourself, how do I feel? Do I sell it now or do I keep it now? And my answer would be trail it. Put your stop at break even and let it go. If it stops you out, it stops you out, but at least take half the position out so you could have the other half in. That can work for you in case it wants to take out this 20 SMA. And not only that, it needs to take out the 20 SMA, but it needs to take out this ascending trend line as well, because this is going to act as resistance as well. So that's like into the 760, but that could be a pretty good risk to reward ratio as you're getting there. All right, what I do like is the daily. So if you're looking for a swing trade and say, hey, I'm only looking for a swing trade right now. I told you what the problems are with this stock. Wait for the trigger over at $730.50. This is like not negotiable. Not negotiable. That is the trigger point. That is when you want to buy. You don't want to buy it here at 720 because you're buying it in the middle of the range. So you're subject right now to a 50-50 type of reaction into the market, right? 50% chances of stopping out, 50% chances of working. This is a no-no. You need to work with 75, 85% chances of working out. And these are coming from really powerful triggers from breakouts. For example, $730.50 could ignite the fire for potentially running higher back into these highs here of 780. So that's my thought. The stop would be here at 708, just below 708.50. And this would be my entry point for now. So I hope that I hope that helped. All right. TTD. Here we go. All right. So TTD as well. We're going to start with the quarterly chart because we want to make sure that this has momentum. You guys want to make money fast, or do you want to sit in the trade for like a gazillion years and do nothing? Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I love instant gratification. That's why I'm looking for these really powerful triggers. All right, the trade desk. This is so interesting because this has a beautiful quarterly candle, which means that it's less likely that whomever holds it is going to sell it. So no, this is a very strong quarter so far. We have 2 weeks left and we're going to hold this quarter high. This is going to be a big, and wherever the price is going to take this stock into the end of the quarter, maybe it's going to close at $100. Maybe it's going to close over $100. Maybe it's going to close here and it's not going to make a new high within the next 2 weeks. Let's say it's going to close into 98.18. Let's say today's the last day of the quarter, right? So if that was it, it's going to be super bullish above this. And I mean like uber bullish. Okay. All right. So from the monthly perspective, 2 more weeks and we're going to wrap up the month. But what is very spectacular is that this stock is trying to break above the last month's high, month of May. So what do you think is going to happen? We break above this high right here. So the high is 97.70 and we have a high of 98.18. So we are just punched a little bit higher. So what does this mean for price? It means that it will have velocity to continue higher to the 105 and into the all-time high, which is into the 114. So this is a really good looking stock. All right, this is TTD and this is on the monthly. On the weekly, strong breakout. Look at the beautiful moving averages that we have underneath. This is what I want to see when I get into a trade. I want to see the nice fanning out of the moving averages that I'm using, because the more we have the railroad tracks, especially between the 10 EMA and the 20 SMA, the more the price action is going to gain traction. Very strong buy point above $98.20. Very, very strong. And at the time of the trigger, you could actually, if you're using this as a swing trade for, let's say for this week or, you know, at the most for next week, you would actually place a stop below, just below $90. $90 would be just below this 10 EMA right here. And like I said, look for targets because you do have a lot of targets. You have, you know, literally velocity all the way to about $105. So this is very, very good. On the daily perspective, let's take a look on the daily sideways price compression as well. You can see here that the price action is holding the lows, is still holding the 20 SMA area, even though it's hovering a little bit back and forth around it, but it's still very strong. This is a very powerful buy point. This $98.20, super, super bullish. All right, the next stock. All right, you guys are calling it Meta. All right, Meta. All right, so here in Meta, you can see that we have some notation. Second breakout, this is a stock that we have been playing a lot. And guess what? It's trading back into resistance right now. The first thing that I want to do is look at the quarterly. And I'm saying like, OMG, this is gorgeous, right? $531.50 is the high. So July, August, September, if you think those are boring months, you better think again, because if the price action in Meta is going to get above that. And by the way, Meta is heavily used for advertisers and for companies. You guys, if you guys go on Facebook, you're going to see a lot of sponsored ad. They're making a killing in sponsorships and they're making a killing in advertising. So what that means is that this has many, many chances to break out again right after earnings or into the earnings, obviously, right? When it reports earnings, I think it's going to have really good earnings. This is the monthly chart. You can see the same compression that we have talked about. So this is the high that we have in the 532.63, and this is the low. Look at where we have the 10 EMA. 10 EMA shows that the monthly chart is still very well into a transition higher. Do you guys see what happened right here? We have this gorgeous inside candle. These are very powerful these are very powerful patterns, guys. You have this breakdown here, and that was a month of April, right? Everything was red in April, almost everything. And then you have this nice build up. So we closed, we opened, and we started building up from where we were. Beautiful move to the upside. And then you have the parameters, right? You have the parameters, and this is the monthly. So if you're a little bit more into I would say like a little bit longer swing, right? Swing / active investing. This is what you want to be in. So $482.50 was the trigger point for this month. It's heading higher and it should be going towards the $530. Beautiful setup. Beautiful setup. Now on the weekly, you can see here that you had a secondary, the secondary breakout. This is where I added to my trade. So as an initial trade, this is where I bought it the first time around, and this is where I added right here, $482.50. And yes, this is the target zone. It's the $533 around that area. This week's action, what do we need to see this week? This week, we need to see a trigger above $514. And if we get that above, we're heading into the $530. However, if this week we start taking out last week's low, which is $493 and change, we are likely to revisit this 10 EMA, the former secondary breakout, into the $482.50, just where I'm holding my cursor. Daily charts. Daily charts, you can see here that since this doji, right? So this doji was on June 12th. We started pulling back. Well, it's normal, right? Pay attention at it today. Don't trade it today. Today's going to be the decision day. Whatever the high is going to be today, over today's high, this is going to be a strong buy into tomorrow. Whether you're day trading it or swing trading it, this could be a good start point for it into $503.45. And you could actually use a stop right into the bottom of this gorgeous bottoming tail that we're going to be setting today. And like I said, you need to take it tomorrow over today's high because you still have to have the close from today. All right, this was Meta. I'm not even going to talk about the volume because volume in Meta is perfect. ELF. Okay, this is LBUT. All right, we're going to start quarterly chart. Quarterly chart, big jump. Big jump. So this could potentially be incredibly bullish going into July, August, and September. Again, don't think that those months are going to be boring. Those months are going to be super active. So we have a strong trigger point, or whatever the high is going to be into the end of the quarter. But so far, we have the high of 202.58. So this is going to be incredibly bullish. The monthly chart, again, it has already triggered. You can see here, it already triggers. So long-term traders are looking for higher prices, right? They're looking for 215, 220. So this could drive the price a little bit higher. One other thing that I wanted to mention before, and I'm going to, I'm just going to tell you guys now because I don't want to forget. We're trading in a quadruple witch option expiration. So what's going to happen is that you're going to see a lot of stocks that are pinned in at or around whole numbers. So pay very attention to that because I see ELF trading very close to the 200 level. So it's a strong possibility that they may want to pin it at 200 level. Okay. So that was the little, brief commercial break. Okay. So yeah, from the weekly perspective, you definitely need to take out these highs, the 202.84. So yes, you need to take out the 200s. And from the daily perspective, again, you're trading a little bit sloppier pattern, but you can see here that you're trading off of the 10 exponential moving average. And if you take out, and that's going to happen tomorrow, so not today, don't look at it today. You need to see today's close and how it's going to close, because if you have a big shadow behind today or a big bottoming tail, right, into today, just like we have as of now, this is a strong buy tomorrow into the beginning of the day above today's high. All right. Any other stocks that you guys have for me? I still have about 15 minutes left, I think. Looking at the clock. All right. Or any questions? Any question? You can ask me questions as well, not necessarily stocks. Okay. CVNA. All right. Might as well use this time to, to pick my brain. All right. So Carvana, since it gapped up, by the way, this big gap up here, right? This is the gap up, and this created a really nice formation, right? So let me put the timing back here. Okay. So it gapped up, it held the base, and it retraced. Why do you think it retraced? Because it was way elevated, right? And where did it retrace? Into a prior pivot high. So this is minor support for price. Minor support is so much stronger than major support. So you can see that it came in, it rotated, it went a little bit higher, and it created actually a lower high because it rotated and it went lower. $95 and 60, I would say $95 area is the new support. As long as the support is going to hold, the price action may be poised of continuing higher. I actually like it a lot. The weekly chart still, you can see why the price action got rejected. You don't need CNBC or Bloomberg to tell you, oh, you know what, this and that happened, or, you know, to try to find out any other reasons. No, the reason is on the technical chart. And the reason was the price pulled back because the price action got an excessive gap into resistance from the 200 SMA, and that was the only reason. But at the same time, the price on the weekly is trading into the 10 exponential moving average, which is perfect because look at the super power trend. The 10 EMA is a super power trend. The 20 SMA is a trending, right? It's a normal trending type of follow price action, but this is very powerful. So this week we're bouncing again off of the 10 exponential moving average. Think again, this is actually the fourth week in which we're trying to hold the 10 exponential moving average. So that's very significant. And you can see here, there's a little bit of green momentum throughout the day today. So what I would look for is definitely, I would look at on the daily, right? So if the daily takes out the 20 SMA into the 107 108, this could be a buy there. So the weekly strong buy point definitely going to be above 111 and 115 for a continuation back into the 200 SMA, maybe 127, 125 to 127. The monthly chart, you can see why the price action is having a hard time here because we have a big flat 50 SMA, which is a line, the brick wall, right? And the price keeps on knocking into it, knocking on it, and nothing happens. But if we finally break this 130, the price action is going to have a major squeeze to the upside. And I mean major squeeze. The first target would be about 200 and 220. And then, of course, you got to look at quarterly charts. Not too shabby. We just need a little bit more momentum to get it at least into the 116 to 120. And if we get it into 116 and 120, that would be borderline with this 20 SMA. And then guess what? June, July, August, if we tap above 130, up we go. This is a really nice rotation that we had. Look at the short squeeze that it had here, by the way, in 2023, second quarter 2023. And this was the line in the sand, right? The 10 EMA. It closed above the 10 EMA. So the next mission was to be what? To close above the 20 SMA. But so far, we don't have a close above the 20 SMA. So I think until we dissolve this 20 SMA on the quarterly, it's not going to start moving. So that's the whole analysis from macro to micro. All right. So I hope that helped. TRV. TRV is the next stock. And again, we're going to start with the quarterly. And quarterly, you can see it's red. So there's a strong possibility that you may have continuation of the red into the second quarter as well. So you're going to have a continuation within the next 2 weeks of the red momentum, of bearish momentum, all the way to 194 and 190. The monthly chart suggests that it's still trending. So yes, because the stock is obviously into a very strong uptrend, but it's still trading on the 10 exponential moving average. So that means that it's still super, super uber trending. However, the more we close this month, we still have a couple of weeks into it. But if we close below 202, there's a very strong chance, and I mean like 70 to 80% chance that we're going to start retracing into the 195 and perhaps even lower into the 189 without being overly bearish. It's just a retracement, okay? Because this is a very strong stock. Now, when we move to the weekly, you can see here that last week and within the last few weeks, we have been trading above the 10 exponential moving average, and we have been relatively weak. So that opens the door towards retracements. So bottom line is that we do still have support into this 202 area, but if this 202 area is going to be tested, and if the price is going to close somewhere below 202 or even at 202, there's a very strong chance that we're going to start retracing towards the 190 to 194 area. Very weak action into last week. You can see here that the 10 exponential moving average is creating a lot of resistance for price. We also, now that not only that we're trading below the 10 EMA, but we're trading below the 20 SMA as well, this blue line right here. And chances are, if this week we take out this low of 202.50, not even 202, we are going to start the retracement process. From the daily, you can see here, we have the fanning out to the downside, which means that the momentum will be to the downside. So I see it more than likely potentially moving more towards the 196, then higher this week. However, if the price action is going to close sometime today or tomorrow above the 10 EMA, you're going to go in sequences. You're going to go 10 EMA, 20 SMA, 50 SMA, and then higher. All right, this was TRV. We have a new one in CRM. All right, so CRM, again, this was a sell setup that actually did. I did it as a buy, and now I did it as a sell here. I had it short under $240.20 was my entry, not 43 here, with a protective stop of 246, and I have a target into the $225, so I'm still into it. Since then I have lowered my stop to 235. So that is not only that I made profits, I sold partials in this, and now I'm waiting for the breakdown. If we break below these lows right here, these are the 3-day lows. We're going to start retracing lower, and we're going to be revisiting not only the 225, which is my target, but 220, and actually go back into the 215 to 212. All right. Any other stocks? You have any other stocks for me? Any other stocks? Of course, Bob, you're welcome. All right. Apple. Okay. So Apple's secondary breakout, I added an Apple right here. So Apple is still poised for higher. You can see that it had a beautiful rotation. These were some of my biggest trades that we had last week. So we had Apple last week. We had Nvidia the week before. Nvidia is still a beautiful Microsoft. So we try to stick with these stocks that are, and Daniel, I like your question about Apple, because stick with stocks that have momentum, that are in the news, that make a splash, that have new products. This is the way to go. You want to make money fast. You don't want to like sit on your money and say, oh, like let them marinate there for a couple of months and then stop you out. Definitely, you can see here that we had 2 inflection levels. We had the 191. By the way, this is my entry. The 187 is my entry. So pretty good profits right here. So if you take a look right here, so 18%. So into today, because I'm still in 16% as of today. So really good profit. So moving forward, where are we going with Apple, right? Take a look at the quarter. What do you want to see? Remember, I was talking to you guys. How many of you guys, by the way, how many of you guys, type of one chat box, how many of you guys are watching quarterly charts? How many of you guys? Just type of one. These are the most important charts, especially as you're heading into the end of the quarter, because they could give you like massive information about what's about to blast and what's about to soar into the new quarter. So it gives you a heads up. So in this case, in Apple, you had a massive trigger point right around the 199. So what this means is that you could see here the compression. And remember, I was telling you guys about compression, price compression, consolidation. Look at the consolidation. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th quarter. If you guys can count to 3, you guys can count to 5, you guys can trade. Okay, because these numbers are fin numbers. This is so freaking important. All right, so what do you think is going to happen here? This is going to get bought into the last week of the quarter massively. On the monthly chart, still very strong. We're going to close a very strong month for Apple, so it has the potential to get picked up into July as well. Don't forget, July earnings season starts. Oh, that's going to be super fun. Okay. So I was talking to my traders in the program, and I delivered some targets for Apple. And I said, hey, if you guys are still taking the secondary breakout over this 199 level, we're going to have 2 more targets in it. 209 fulfilled, and we're going to have 1 more into 21. Do you guys know that we have an extra target laying around? Here it is. The next target is $250, 256 right here. Okay, so it's very, very, very bullish. All right, super bullish. All right. Any other stocks? SMCI. Hold it. Daniel. All right, this is about to blast. This is the weekly chart. You can see here that I have a trigger 883. 0.17. This strong buy point this week. If it takes out this week high, it's going to go to 970, 1000, and then back up. This is more, I like this for long term, not necessarily for a week or 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. I like to hold it into the end of the year. Okay. I don't think it's going to have a lot of attention within the next 2 days. Within the next 2 weeks. So it's not going to do anything spectacular, like take out the ultimate high of the quarter or something like that. But watch it as we're heading into July and as we're heading into August and September, because the more we're getting triggers into the daily, the weekly, and the monthly, this is going to start soaring. And the massive, massive level, and you can write it down, is going to be 1069. 1069, and that's going to be for July, August, or September. Monthly chart, 2 weeks from now, whatever the high is, buy more. So you could actually leg into this. All right, you could actually, okay, let me go back to the daily. You can see the daily here, 883.17. Buy a lot here, okay, into the 883. Okay, which is coinciding with this high right here. Next week, see where the high is, add a little bit more. And as you're going into this high of 1068, this is going to be the line of the sand right here, the 1069. It breaks out the 1069, is on fire. All right. So any other stocks? I'm glad that you brought the SMCI. ARM? Okay. I'm not sure, David, do we still have some time? 2 more minutes, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, another minute or so.
A minute. Okay, gotcha. Okay, ARM. I know I had this on my list. There's something up with ARM that I don't know. I had it on my list. Quarterly chart, super impressive. Into the highs, is not going to get ditched. Monthly chart, super, super strong. Weekly chart, pulling back a little bit today. Definitely 167.50 this week. It's going to start blasting higher. The daily, though, I don't know. Okay, the daily, though, here's the thing. It's trading into minor support. What you need is to take it out over 163.34. 164. I would say 164 going into tomorrow, not today. So thanks so much. Great presentation. Thank you, Anka. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. So, all right. So I know I have probably 30 seconds left. If you guys want to join my stock swing trader program, this is the link. So I'm just going to post it here for you guys. I'm just going to copy and paste it. All right. You're going to get a lot more analysis in here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right. And this is the program that I run. It is a weekly program, a weekly newsletter that I send out, and where I provide a video for what's to come and key levels for the market. Also, the key trades, and you're also going to have access to the performance portfolio. You guys want to have an idea. This is what we traded in the month of June. These are the stocks, for example, that we have on deck right now. This week we have Dell, SMCI, we have Netflix, GME, DEC, CRWD, and MD. That's what we're going to trade this week. And you guys can see here what trades we had last week. And for the month of June, you have access to this performance portfolio and so much more. If you want more details, you could definitely go to my website, or shoot me an email at info@tradeoutloud.com. So thank you so